Coming up on this edition of VCU InSight, a new hostel for visitors in Richmond,
a Lego lover's paradise,
roller derby storms through the River City, and a local restaurant owner lives out his dream. All that and more.
VCU InSight starts right now.
Hello and welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Nisi Chisholm.
And I'm Trey Herbert. Thanks for joining us tonight. Not everyone has the money to stay in a five-star hotel when traveling. That's where a hostel comes in. Europe's had them for years, and next year Richmond will have its very own. InSight's Amber Coles has a story on the building that some hope will bring more travelers to Richmond.
This is the Otis Elevator Building on Owensby Street. Hopefully, a once-state women's detention center will in the next year be Richmond's first hostel. A hostel is a community living space for travelers. The Richmond Hostel Committee, a volunteer group, has been working hard to bring it up to code. Christopher Maxwell is trying to find ways to make this hostel stand out.
I'm looking into ways to make this building be both a historic renovation and energy efficient.
The Richmond Hostel is part of Hosteling International, a company that owns over 4,000 hostels around the world and more than 50 in the U.S. The hostel was purchased by the Potomac Area Council for over $500,000 and must be in tip-top shape before it can welcome international visitors.
So actually at this time, that's most of what we're doing is firming up the building's infrastructure so that it's safe and secure and meets code. And we're also trying to do it in a way that refers to the city's history.
Recently, all the front windows were replaced, and later they will move the kitchen to the first floor and complete the laundry room and the basement. The committee is also looking into creating a rooftop greenhouse.
This used to be the old loading dock for the Otis Elevator Company, but when it becomes a hostel, travelers will be able to store their bikes, kayaks, and canoes in here. The committee hopes that having this space will encourage people to explore Richmond.
Being a traveler herself, Amy Nichols-Bilo is all too familiar with the hostel community. She thinks this is a great move for the capital city.
Having a hostel will attract a wider variety of visitors, and visitors of who aren't just people driving down from DC for the weekend.
Maxwell believes that it will usher Richmond into the international world.
The hostel isn't just a place to meet other travelers, it's also a place to meet Richmonders who are creative and energetic and artistic, and vice versa.
The committee says that Richmond has a lot to offer new travelers and hopes that this hostel will make Richmond a must-stop destination. For VCU InSight, I'm Amber Coles.
The hostel will have around 50 beds and charge $22 to $28 per room.
Travelers should also be on the lookout for the LEGO convention. It's made one of its 7 national stops right here in Richmond in mid-February. A LEGO representative says this is the first time one of their shows has completely sold out. More than 30,000 families came to the different sessions, including life-size LEGO characters. She says the event is all about interactivity.
A lot of our society today is look but don't touch, but this is all dive in, have fun.
The next stop for the LEGO convention is in Louisville, Kentucky in early April.
One unique street vendor is also on the move, selling handmade crafts that he hopes to someday take all the way to DC. InSight's Hope Lee is in the studio with the man you may have seen walking his cart all over the city.
You may have seen him pulling his 200-pound Amish cart full of crafts around Richmond. Charlie C. Umhow, also known as the Cowboy Prince, is a folk artist and costume designer, and he's here to talk about his year-long performance piece, Custer's Last Waistband. Charlie, thanks for being here.
I'm glad to be here.
So start off by telling us, what is Custer's Last Waistband?
Custer's Last Waistband and the Cowboy Prince are kind of my, I mean, it's technically a business, but it's kind of, I guess, my moniker for all the stuff I make. I work making clothes that are kind of fusions of different time periods. And so I kind of like that homage to like General Custer, the great like American general, but playing with it with making pants and stuff. And I say waistband because the first thing I ever learned how to sew was pants. And after I made one pair of pants, it like unfurled this whole world before me where I wanted to just like sew wildly. And so it's kind of a homage to that.
And it's a performance piece.
Yeah, it's a performance piece as well. The peddler's cart itself is called Custer's Last Waistband. It's kind of a nomadic storefront that travels around. And through this Kickstarter campaign I had in this last summer, I got a legal business license. So legally, I am Custer's Last Waistband and the Cowboy Prince as like my entity. And so that's the name I operate under. But that's like kind of the title for the performance piece.
And you started this through Kickstarter, which is a website where people donate money to Custer's Last Waistband.
Exactly. It's funny. I'm really like bad at computers and modern technologies, but I found this really cool way to make my love of old-timey Americana and living this wild dream of living in the 1800s as much as I could a reality by using modern advantages like Kickstarter. So Kickstarter is a nonprofit thing online where basically artists or entrepreneurs or anyone who wants can basically put out word of like a project they're trying to do, and you make a little video and you ask for however much money you're trying to raise, and you have different rewards that you use as incentives to get people to donate to the cause. And
you raised over $6,000.
Yeah, which is nuts.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I'd asked for like 4,000, and the way it works is if you ask for 4,000, you only make 3,000. You don't get to keep anything, so you have to either make the exact amount or beyond to keep it. And
so who was donating this money?
Beautiful people everywhere. Just like a whole variety of people. I mean, I spent that entire month that the campaign was going on just like writing emails to like my best friend in kindergarten's mom and like some of my friends back home and random people in the city that had like known my work, and honestly just some random people who just found it online, which is really cool.
How have the people of Richmond responded to your crafts on the streets and you selling them?
It's been pretty crazy. I've been really lucky because of all the times I've taken the cart out, I've never gotten a single car to honk at me, which is crazy because it's like a 300-pound cart and a sweaty kid with a cowboy hat literally blocking the traffic. Yeah. And people just kind of stare at it with excitement and wave or kind of scratch their head, but no one's ever like gotten, everyone's really excited about it. And generally people are pretty excited to see my work and yeah, pretty interested, which is fun.
So you're going to eventually make your way to DC walking there?
I'm really hoping to.
When is this going to happen?
At this point, there's been a lot of setbacks just because of weather and trying to like raise the funds again in terms of my own bills and stuff at home. But I'm hoping to do it. Hope is a verb with its sleeves rolled up, so I'm really gearing for it either this summer or the spring or maybe another year in the future when I get to do it. But it'll be pretty wild. It'll be a heck of an adventure to do, but it'll be literally pulling the cart over 110 miles. I think it'd probably be about 140 if I ended up getting to do it, which would be really cool.
Very, very
wild
cool.
to do. So.
Very cool. Well, I've been talking with folk artist Charlie C. Umhow about his year-long performance piece, Custer's Last Waistband. Thanks for being here, Charlie.
Of course.
Experts say there's been a decline in overall HIV infections, but not when it comes to African American college students. A project at VCU hopes to change that and raise awareness. InSight's Alina Sidnor has more.
Virginia is not only for lovers, as it turns out, but also HIV. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Virginia ranked 13th in the nation for reported AIDS cases in 2010. This called the attention of staff at the VCU Center for Cultural Experiences and Prevention. The result was the Raise 5 project. Director of Evaluation for the project, Dr. Ray Tatamy, says he wants students to think differently about their sexual decision-making.
We know that our college students, they would have fun here, they want to get their education, but we know they're going to also interact with individuals of the same age in the community.
Its goal, raise awareness about HIV/AIDS, drug abuse, and healthy living, promote cultural interaction, and strengthen the community.
The center received a $1 million 5-year grant from the Substance Abuse and Health Services Administration to start the program. The program started in October 2010, and halfway through their grant, they are seeing some results.
In some cases, where in the past it might have been 30% or maybe 40% of students being tested, at these events where African Americans, now the numbers are 50, 60, and sometimes 70 and higher.
To get more students involved in the HIV discussion, the project hosts forums twice a semester and partners with the VCU Wellness Resource Center to offer free HIV testing.
So students come in and within 40 minutes they get the test and they get their results and they're on their way.
Dr. Tatamy says that when the project's funding is up, he has high hopes that VCU will take over and continue the programs. For VCU InSight, I'm Alina Sidnor.
Funding for the Raise 5 project ends in 2015. That HIV testing for VCU students happens once a month at the Wellness Resource Center on the Monroe Park campus. It's co-sponsored by the Fan-Free Clinic of Richmond. The confidential test takes less than an hour, including students getting results right then. Clinic workers say the information is the most important part.
We provide individual risk assessments, risk counseling with each person that comes in to get tested. So when folks come in, we make sure that we talk to folks about how they may be at risk for HIV and how to reduce their risk.
About 23,000 Virginians are known to be living with HIV/AIDS, with an estimated 50,000 new cases diagnosed each year in the U.S.
Fundraising took a different approach with tuxedos, sparkly dresses, low light, and masks. No, this isn't prom. On February 16th, the VCU service organization Circle K hosted a masquerade ball to fundraise for the March of Dimes. Everyone could bid on various items ranging from a teddy bear to a water bottle. Circle K President Danielle Scheibler says she wants everyone to enjoy themselves, but keep the greater cause in mind.
Because we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that this runs successfully and that, we raise enough money so that we can really donate a good amount towards the March of Dimes project.
The fundraising continues on April 22nd with a walk for the March of Dimes in Richmond's Monroe Park.
In every election, people wonder if the youth vote matters. According to an analysis by Tufts University, that's what kept Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney from winning 4 battleground states, including Virginia. Here at VCU, one organization wants to make sure the young voter isn't just seen, but also heard. InSight's Charisse Bonner-Ball has a member of this growing organization here in the studio to tell us more about it.
I'm here with VCU student Jerry Solomon. She's president of the school's chapter of Virginia 21, a nonpartisan group working to get young people involved in politics. Jerry, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes. So Virginia 21 calls themselves the voice of a generation. Can you briefly explain exactly what that means?
Yes, students seem to complain about certain things that affect them that has to do with, state legislation or federal legislation, but it's hard for them to actually speak up. Like, you'll hear it all the time. You'll hear that, they don't have enough money for college or it's hard to find a job in this state, but Virginia 21 is pretty much just an avenue for them to realize that they can advocate for themselves and advocate for other young people who feel the same way that they do. So just a voice of a generation in the sense that they should be represented. So Virginia 21 hopes to be that representation.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I know that the VCU chapter is actually new. What about VCU that made y'all feel that it was time for VCU to have its own chapter?
Well, actually, the chapters have been developing at almost all of the Virginia public schools, but it was interesting that Virginia 21 didn't have a chapter here at VCU yet, seeing as how it's the state capitol and the Capitol building's right down the street. So we figured that in order to get more students involved who are actually here and who can actually just take a bus and get to the General Assembly building and talk to their legislators in a matter of minutes, well, this location definitely needed a chapter here, so we decided to start one.
Okay. And what exactly, I know you said that finding a job and making sure that college is affordable are some of the issues that y'all kind of touch on. What type of steps are y'all taking to make those things happen?
Well, there are different campaigns that we go through. It depends on what's most prevalent in the General Assembly building discussion. We've done petitions for increasing the amount of financial aid. We've definitely talked to legislators about how times are different now and how it's much harder to get a job. I think what we're lacking in right now and why we decided to go ahead and start a chapter is just more voices. It's hard enough for us to get students to come here from Virginia Tech or UVA or ODU, rather than having more voices that are actually here go down and talk to their legislators about things like that. So our efforts are, on a grander scale. They happen to be grassroots campaigning and things like that. But what we want to do is have more short-term goals that include just students feeling comfortable enough to go talk to their legislators about things like that.
How many voices would you say you guys have right about now? Like how many members, since it's just brand new, do you have?
Well, we have a concrete executive board of 5 people. On top of that, we really haven't started our, like deep dive into the programs that we want to do to get people involved and to recruit people. But I would say we have about 10 people who have shown interest, maybe like 20 people who have signed up for our email list, but about 10 people who come out.
Okay. So do y'all have any type of future events y'all have planned to make sure that people come out and can join the VCU chapter?
Yes, to start off, we'd like to have regular events that would include like a speaker series. Hopefully we can get a legislator or a community leader or a business leader to come out and share experiences with us, hopefully once every month or once every 2 months. And then just as frequently, we want to have discussion series. We want to talk about topics such as gun control on campus or voter registration or things like that. And then on top of that, we would like to have social events to get to know one another.
Well, I've been speaking with VCU student and local Virginia 21 president, Jerry Solomon. Jerry, thanks for dropping by.
You're welcome.
VCU students have a new way to take and submit some exams. It's called Grade It, and it replaces the old bubble sheets called Scantrons. Students can just print off the new sheets and bring them to class. With the old system, the university or the student had to buy them. VCU's Technology Services says it was about getting with the times.
So the big push was to get something more modern, more updated, that we would be able to have more control on our side to offer to faculty and students.
The new scan sheets can also handle different kinds of questions, like matching 2 words and questions with more than one answer.
The Campus Conservation Nationals is a nationwide energy reduction competition taking place on college campuses. This is VCU's 3rd year and the first time they've gone against crosstown rivals, the University of Richmond. The 3-week electrical energy reduction race began on February 3rd and ended on February 24th. VCU students are not only competing with U of R, but also with themselves. Students in 7 dorms tried to save energy. The Cary and Belvedere Residence Hall won by saving almost 12% of their normal energy use. VCU Sustainability Office intern Shelley Campbell says the students don't just get bragging rights.
There is going to be a pizza party for the winning dorm, the first 100 people in the winning dorm. We're also doing a plaque on a solar panel that will be displayed in the winning dorm.
Students could track the competition by using an online dashboard that showed statistics of leading dorms and schools. Organizers say they hope students learn how to save energy. The winning university will be announced at the VCU basketball game against U of R on March 6th at the Siegel Center.
The VCU Rams were back in action at the Siegel Center and had a Valentine's Day present for the University of Massachusetts Minutemen on February 14th, beating them 86-68. Sophomore guard Travion Graham led the Rams with 19 points, while freshman Melvin Johnson added 18 points for the Rams. Junior Rob Brandenburg says taking control early in the game is key as the Rams look to finish the season.
Moving forward, in the rest of conference plays, second half, first 5 minutes is very important, and if we can make our, mark in that first 5 minutes, I think we'll be all right.
2 days later, the Rams beat the George Washington Colonials 84-57. Javante Reddick led the Rams with 24 points. Following their back-to-back home wins, the Rams fell to St. Louis 76-62, but beat Xavier on February 23rd, 75-71. The Rams finish out their home schedule against the University of Richmond on March 6th. It's one of the top cycling races in the world, the Tour de France. And of course, it's been in the news lately with Lance Armstrong admitting to using performance-enhancing drugs while competing in it. But the race continues, as do people connecting to it in their own way. InSight's Candace Smith has a story of one Richmond woman who's going to do the race her way.
The Tour de France is a well-known race, but what many may not know, women can't compete. There's talk of a women's tour, but as of now, the Tour de France is a men's-only club. Local Spanish tutor Zoe Romano decided she wanted to do something about it.
I guess when I found out or I realized that females aren't allowed to compete in the Tour de France, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this.
But Romano plans on doing it her way, by running instead of biking. The tour will start in May for Romano, 5 weeks ahead of the cyclists. She plans on finishing a day ahead of them, averaging about 30 miles each day. Although running the 2,000-mile route wasn't Romano's original plan.
The Tour de France was kind of, I just think it's a really funky idea. My first idea was to run around Iceland, but I thought that was sort of too similar to running across the country.
Running across the country, a challenge in which Romano has already completed.
So in 2011, I ran from Huntington Beach, California to Charleston, South Carolina, and pushed my gear in a baby stroller. I didn't have a support van, so that's why I had the gear in the stroller.
3,000 miles while pushing a stroller that weighed about 60 pounds. Along the way, she raised more than $17,000 for the Boys and Girls Club. In running the Tour de France, Romano will raise money for the World Pediatric Project, a nonprofit that provides medical care and preventative health services to children in the Caribbean and in Central America. Jennifer Curtis with the World Pediatric Project is thrilled to have Romano a part of her team.
And we're so excited and grateful that she's agreed to champion our charity through her incredible feat of running the Tour de France.
With only 2 months left, Romano and her incredible feat are excited to take on this unique challenge. For VCU InSight, I'm Candace Smith.
You can follow Romano running the Tour de France online. We'll have a link to her webpage from ours, insight.vcu.edu.
Dogs are also registering to run in the 11th annual Dog Jog and 5K. The Richmond SPCA and Richmond Roadrunners team up every year to help raise money to save homeless animals. On Saturday, March 16th, the 5K begins at 9:30 at the Richmond SPCA on Hermitage Road and is followed by the Dog Jog at 11. The 5K is for serious runners, while the Dog Jog gives others the chance to bring their dog out for fun.
You can do that with your own dog. We even have a few shelter dogs that can run with a few of our participants too.
Registration fees are $25 per race if you sign up on the Richmond SPCA website before March 1st. All proceeds go to the Richmond SPCA and its Clinic for Compassionate Care.
Lots of new restaurants open in Richmond every year, but few took a quarter century to get going. InSight's Ali Nasta has the story.
In his late teens, Bob Windsor came up with the idea for a sandwich shop called Booze Brown Bag, Butt Kickin' Good. He made 100 t-shirts with the name and passed them out to his friends and family.
Probably came up with a t-shirt when I was around 18 or 20 and probably made it sometime in the 80s.
Down the road, Windsor worked in general contracting for about 25 years. It wasn't until his good friend, Teresa Alford, took him to eat at Pescado's where he met Todd Manley and things started to change.
And he just fell in love with the whole concept, and he and Todd really hit it off and became friends then.
The more Windsor visited Manley at Pescado's, the more he enjoyed it. Windsor soon bought the old truck wagon in Organ Hill on China Street and became business partners with Manley. Pescado's in Organ Hill opened up in 2010.
He always talked about having this place called Booze Brown Bag. He's had the name in his head for a long time that I know of, but I've heard him talking about it for many, many years.
Just 3 short years later, this January, Windsor achieved his teenage dream and opened up Booze Brown Bag right on Main Street.
After a 25-year wait of always wanting to open up Booze Brown Bag, Windsor finally made it happen. His path wasn't direct, but he never let his dream go.
Thought one day I would do this and live my dream, so now I'm trying it.
For VCU InSight, I'm Ali Nasta.
Windsor says he hopes to open up another location in downtown Richmond in the near future.
Now let's take a look at some of the upcoming events around Richmond.
The Edgar Allan Poe Museum is celebrating the 170th anniversary of the classic story, The Telltale Heart. The exhibit is open through March 31st. Admission is $6 for adults and $5 for students.
And for another brush with the past, the Valentine Richmond History Center presents RVA 50. They're exploring Richmond through 50 objects, like an imprint of John Smith's 1624 map of Virginia. The exhibit is open until October. And finally tonight, Richmond has NCAA basketball, Flying Squirrels baseball, and roller derby.
We'll be hearing more about this women's sport as the local team hosts an international tournament in Richmond this September.
But is it really as crazy as it looks? Kinda. InSight's Shelly Andrews has the story.
Roller derby. It's rough, it's tough, and painful. Players say, if you can't take a hit, get off the floor.
I think my hardest hit ended up knocking me backwards, and I slammed my head on the floor a couple times. I got back up, but I was a little confused.
River City Roller Girls has been around for nearly 7 years, but it's just now starting to gain a following. The sport has nearly 1,300 amateur leagues worldwide, with half outside the United States. Richmond has 3 leagues. One is co-ed. Roller derby is played in a skate rink in a series of matchups called jams. Teams consist of 4 blockers and a jammer. During these jams, the jammer gets points for lapping their opposing team. Team members must play defense and offense at the same time to help their jammer score. They do so by pushing, shoving, and hitting. But for players like Johnson, it's not just a sport. It's a way to get priorities back on track, even after a very long and frustrating day.
And once your adrenaline starts going, and once you just start doing the drills, especially during scrimmage time, you're like, by the time you're done, you're like, yeah, this is the best way to spend a couple of hours instead of me just sitting there in front of the TV.
While roller derby is a physically demanding sport, many of the girls get a personal satisfaction from the softer side through friendships and a sense of family.
These girls have been there for me through some really rough times.
Mansfield says her relationships with these girls, or sister skaters, have turned into amazing and valued friendships. With crowds growing at each jam, it seems people are starting to embrace roller derby. And players hope Richmond will too. For VCU InSight, I'm Shelly Andrews.
The River City Roller Girls just finished their preseason match, the Hometown Throwdown, in mid-February.
Their regular season begins March 16th against the Dutchland Derby Rollers from Lancaster, Pennsylvania at the Richmond Convention Center. And that's it for this edition of VCU InSight.
Make sure to check us out online at insight.vcu.edu.
Thanks for watching. I'm Trey Herbert.
And I'm Nisi Chisholm. We'll see you next time.